There's a certain tone people use when they've rehearsed something. Calm, flat, like they're reading off a memo instead of cutting you out of their life. My father used that tone on me. We've all agreed, Victor Monroe said, folding his hands on his desk like this was a quarterly review. It's better if you don't attend the wedding. That was it. No yelling. No drama. Just a decision already sealed. I didn't ask who we was. I already knew. My sister Sienna. Probably Daniel. Maybe my Uncle Harold pretending to mediate. I stood there and stared at the framed engagement photo on his shelf. I paid for that photographer. That's not bitterness. That's math. Okay, I said. He blinked, like I'd skipped a line in the script. It's for everyone's comfort. I almost laughed. Comfort. I'd wired $18,400 to the caterer 3 weeks ago. I'd signed the personal guarantee on a $42,000 estate deposit. I was carrying close to $90,000 in liability for a wedding I was suddenly too inconvenient to attend. You ever realize mid-conversation that you're the only one who understands the stakes? It's a weird feeling. Kind of lonely, kind of clarifying. I hear you. I said. My voice didn't shake. I'm still proud of that. He relaxed, just slightly, like he thought that was the hard part. It wasn't. The hard part was walking to my car and not crying. The leather seat was hot from the sun. I sat there a minute. I thought about all the times I'd smoothed things over, paid first, spoke last. Then I opened my email and searched for the venue contract. My name is Lydia Monroe. I am 38 years old. I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen counter with the contract open on my laptop. The glow from the screen made the room feel smaller. Section 8, Paragraph B. Withdrawal of primary financial guarantor requires written notice. Event automatically suspended pending replacement within 48 hours. Deposit non-refundable. Non-refundable. I read it slowly this time, not looking for revenge, looking for reality. I emailed Clara Bennett. Clara, please confirm in writing that I am the sole financial guarantor and personally liable under the Ashley River estate contract. She didn't respond in 9 minutes this time. It took 43. Lydia. She wrote, you are the sole guarantor. However, I must advise that withdrawal will trigger formal review by the estate attorney. The $42,000 deposit will remain non-refundable. Replacement guarantor must submit proof of liquid assets and execute a new personal guarantee. There it was. Not dramatic, just legal. I typed back carefully. I understand. I am formally submitting written notice of withdrawal effective immediately. Please forward to the estate attorney and confirm receipt. My hand actually shook when I attached the PDF. I signed it, dated it, sent it. 2 minutes later, Clara replied, received. Suspension notice forthcoming. My phone started ringing before the official notice landed. Victor. I let it ring. Then again. Then a text. What did you do this time? I knew the answer would cost him something real, and it was already in motion. The official notice arrived at 10:15. Subject line, formal notice of suspension and attorney review. Clara copied Victor, copied Sienna, copied Daniel Hart, copied the estate's legal counsel. Clean, direct, pursuant to Section 8. Paragraph B. Withdrawal of the primary financial guarantor has triggered immediate suspension of all vendor services. Replacement guarantor must provide verified proof of liquid assets and execute a new personal guarantee within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in forfeiture of the $42,000 deposit and release of the event date. Forfeiture. Release of the date. This wasn't symbolic anymore. My phone started vibrating before I finished reading. Victor left a voicemail. Lydia, the estate attorney has already contacted me. This is reckless. Call me immediately. Reckless. That word again. Sienna called next. I answered. What did you sign? She demanded. The withdrawal notice. Daniel's parents are asking why your name was on everything, because it was. They didn't know. I wasn't informed I wasn't attending. She exhaled hard. This isn't about that anymore. If Dad doesn't qualify, we lose the date. He can qualify. I said, if he's willing, that's not fair. Neither was asking me to carry $90,000 quietly. She went silent. You should have told us you felt this way. I did. I said. You just heard convenience. After we hung up, Clara forwarded a follow-up from the estate attorney. Proof of liquidity required within 48 hours. No extensions, no negotiation. The pressure had shifted addresses, and this time, it wasn't mine. By noon, I had 7 missed calls from Victor and 3 from Sienna, 1 from a number I didn't recognize. I answered that one. Lydia, a woman said. Tight voice, controlled. This is Margaret Hart, Daniel's mother. Of course it was. Yes. I just received notice that the estate venue is suspended. We were told you are the financial guarantor. I said. A pause. Not friendly. Is this some misunderstanding? No. Another pause. Longer. My family has already paid for flights for 168 guests. She said, we were not informed of this arrangement. I wasn't informed I wouldn't be attending. I said. She exhaled sharply. This isn't about feelings. This is about logistics. It's about liability. I said $90,000 worth. That shifted something. I could hear it. Victor didn't explain that. She said, softer now. He doesn't like explaining things that benefit him. Silence again. Then she said, this puts Daniel in an impossible position. I've been in one for years. I said, he'll survive. After we hung up, Victor texted, you've embarrassed me in front of them. I stared at the word embarrassed. Not hurt. Not sorry. Embarrassed. You ever notice how reputation gets defended faster than relationships? Another email came in from Clara. Proof of funds required within 24 hours now. The deadline had moved up. The pressure was spreading. And for once, it wasn't sitting on my shoulders. He didn't call. He came in person. When I opened the door, Victor Monroe was standing there in that navy suit he wears when he wants to look controlled. He didn't smile. We need to fix this, he said, stepping inside without waiting. Fix what I asked. You've destabilized everything. I withdrew from a contract. You embarrassed me in front of Daniel's family and the estate attorney. There it is, I said. Embarrassment. He stayed standing, didn't take off his jacket. You've made your point. Now reverse it. I didn't make a point. I said. I enforced liability. This is retaliation. No. I said. Retaliation would have been not signing in the first place. His jaw tightened. You've always needed to be needed, he said. That's why you step in. That one landed. I co-signed your company's line of credit 5 years ago. I said, because you said the acquisition would fall through without it. That was business. I paid off Sienna's $23,000 credit card balance. Twice. Quietly. That was your decision. I wired $18,400 to her caterer. I signed a $42,000 non-refundable estate deposit. I carried close to $90,000 in personal exposure. He looked away for a second. You always volunteer, he said. We didn't ask you to carry all of it. You didn't stop me either. That's not the same. It is when you build your plans on it. Silence stretched between us. If I don't assume liability, he said finally, we lose the date and the deposit. Yes, and you're fine with that. I'm fine, not being the buffer. He finally sat down. What do you actually want? He asked. Not anger now, not pride. Calculation. I want transparency, I said. And I want my name off anything I'm not invited to. He studied me like I'd changed languages mid-sentence. Maybe I had. Clara called just after 9. Lydia, the estate attorney has reviewed Mr. Monroe's request, she said, calm, careful. He must submit brokerage statements and execute a new personal guarantee before reinstatement, so it's not automatic. I said, "No, it is not." An hour later, Victor texted, "I am working with my broker. Working with... not done." Then another message. "There will be penalties for early liquidation." I read that twice. They required proof of liquidity equal to $90,000. He added, "They required that from me too." I replied, silence. By afternoon, he called. I had to sell part of the long-term portfolio. He said, his voice sounded thinner, "and open a short-term line of credit to cover the catering balance. That's what exposure feels like." I said, "You're enjoying this." "I'm recognizing it. They're making me sign a revised personal guarantee. If anything defaults, it attaches to me personally. It always attached to someone." I said, "You just preferred it wasn't you." He didn't argue that. "You've become very rigid," he said. "No," I said. "I've become visible." By 6 that evening, Clara emailed confirmation new guarantor accepted. Event reinstated pending final verification. For the first time, my name wasn't printed anywhere on the liability line. The wedding still happened, not at the river lawn, inside the ballroom. Sienna called 2 days before it. "We had to cut the fireworks," she said, "and the yacht send-off. I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. Just not the way she wanted. "Dad had to cancel Lake Como," she added. "We're going to Napa Valley instead." "That sounds nice," I said. "You don't care." "I do. I just don't carry it anymore." She went quiet, then softer. "They're saying you forced this." "No," I said. "I stopped funding it. You could have come." "I wasn't invited." Another pause. "I didn't know he said it like that," she said. "He did. The night of the wedding. I saw photos online. The ballroom lights looked warm. The cake was smaller. Daniel looked tense in one picture. Victor looked controlled. Harold Kent commented under a photo, "Family always comes through." I almost laughed at that. You ever notice how people rewrite history in real time? I muted the post. No one called me that night. No dramatic speech, no apology. Just silence, clean and heavy. And for once, I wasn't the one filling it. I drove down to the waterfront that night. I didn't plan it. I just didn't want to be in my apartment. The air smelled like salt and engine fuel from the boats. It was loud for a Saturday. Music somewhere. Laughter. Not theirs. Someone else's celebration. Sienna texted around 9. "It's over." She wrote, "We're married." I stared at the message. "Congratulations." I replied. A minute later, she sent a photo. Her dress. Daniel beside her. Victor in the background, hand on her shoulder. I zoomed in on his face. He looked tired. He called me 10 minutes after that. "I signed the personal guarantee," he said without greeting. "I know. They made me show proof of liquid assets equal to $90,000. That's what the contract required. I had to move funds I wasn't planning to touch. I wasn't planning to either." I said, silence. "You could have handled this differently," he said. "So could you." He didn't argue. "I didn't realize how much you were carrying," he said finally. There it was. Not apology. Not quite. Just acknowledgement. "I didn't either," I said. That part surprised me. He cleared his throat. "This didn't need to become public. It became public when I stopped being invisible." I said. The wind picked up off the water. I could hear rigging clinking against metal masts. "You're still my daughter," he said. "I'm not your guarantor," I answered. He didn't respond to that. You ever feel something end quietly instead of exploding? We stayed on the phone a few more seconds. Neither of us knew what to do with the space. 3 weeks later, Victor asked to meet. Not at his office, not somewhere polished. A small diner near my place. It smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. He sat down and didn't reach for his phone. "I underestimated the risk you were carrying." he said, not defensive, just flat. You relied on it, I answered. He nodded, didn't rush to fill the silence. The estate attorney made it clear what personal exposure means. He said, seeing my name on that guarantee felt different. It always feels different when it's yours, I said. He exhaled slowly. I shouldn't have told you not to come. I was trying to simplify things. You simplified me, I said. He absorbed that. I won't ask you to sign anything like that again. He said, if we move forward, it's transparent. In writing. That mattered more than an apology. I won't step in quietly anymore. I said, if I'm involved, I'm included. If I'm excluded, I'm not financially attached. That's fair, he said, not warm, not tender, just fair. We didn't resolve everything. We didn't circle back to childhood or who favored who. Some conversations stay unopened. Before we left, he said, you're still my daughter. I know, I said, but I'm not your contingency plan. We stood. No hug. If you've ever carried something for years without naming it, try naming it once. The room doesn't collapse. It just sounds different. I'm still deciding what that new sound means, and I'm not rushing to define it.